The world's largest mining company says the bushfires in Australia have hurt its coal production. BHP Group says poor air quality caused by smoke has forced machines to operate more slowly. The company also said some staff has taken time off to protect their own property from fires. Earlier this morning on CBSN AM, Anne-Marie spoke with Michael Mann. He's a professor and the director of the Pennsylvania State University's Earth Systems Science Center and is studying the fires on the ground in Australia.
Yeah, so in fact, I actually came to Australia, planned this sabbatical more than a year ago to study the linkages between climate change and extreme weather events. And little did I realize I would be arriving in Australia to see what is perhaps the most extreme weather that they've ever experienced in the form of these wildfires. And I've seen the impacts firsthand. I've seen the smoke in the air. I've smelled the smoke. And I've seen the damage that's been done by these massive bushfires that have broken out across the continent of Australia. And it's not rocket science. You know, you take unprecedented heat, which Australia's seen this summer. You take unprecedented drought, which they've seen. You put it together, you're going to get these sorts of massive, fast-spreading, extensive bushfires. And this was predicted more than a decade ago. Climate scientists here in Australia said that if we continue to warm the planet by putting carbon pollution into the atmosphere, that at the current rate we're going, by 2020, we will be able to see the increase in severity and extent of wildfires across the continent. And here we are in 2020, and we're seeing it. They predicted it. It's coming true. The predictions are that if we don't get this problem under hand, then we will see far more extensive and worse bushfires in the future. And so the good news is we can prevent it from getting worse, but we're sort of stuck right now at the very best case scenario with this new normal. This is what Australia is going to have to deal with.
So for you, the link between what you're seeing there and climate change, that's a no-brainer. But we know, the Prime Minister, for example, the Prime Minister of Australia, doesn't make that link. He may recognize that, it's incredibly hot, but the link between human behavior and climate change, he's not convinced of. But here it is in his own backyard. I know he's receiving a lot of pressure from people who live in New South Wales. This is a terrible thing, but do you think that events like this, particularly the dramatic images that are being broadcast all around the world, these koalas that are, frantically trying to get themselves to safety, do you think these images and this event can serve to shift the needle a little bit, maybe put pressure on politicians to make some changes?
Yeah, I think so. And in fact, I don't think that the Prime Minister Scott Morrison's rhetoric is really connecting with people. People get it. They understand that what they're seeing is something they haven't seen before. They're connecting the dots. They know that this is climate change, and they expect their prime minister to act to do something about it. And the images that we've seen now around the world, the destruction of these rainforests, the loss of life, and of course, these images of koala bears, rather, and other animals that have been impacted by these unprecedented bushfires. This is sort of the poster child now for climate change. This is sort of a post-apocalyptic vision that is going out to the rest of the world. And what Australia is experiencing is a cautionary tale for what we will see writ large if we don't act to do something about the climate change problem immediately.
I think what's challenging about the situation for a lot of people is they feel like they're helpless. And I know, your focus is there needs to be policy changes. The bigger picture is what we have to look at. It's not about your individual water bottle. But what can individuals do to make some sort of impact here?
Well, there are lots of things that we can do in our everyday lives. Save energy, recycle, bicycle to work rather than drive. Lots of things that we can do that decrease our carbon emission, that decrease our environmental footprint, and they help out with this larger problem. And they set a good example for others. But ultimately, if we're going to tackle this problem, we need systemic change. We need policies that are going to shift us away dramatically from fossil fuels towards renewable energy, and we need politicians who are willing to support those policies. And unfortunately, Donald Trump in the U.S. and Scott Morrison here in Australia are unwilling to support those policies. So what's the most important thing that people can do? They can vote, and they can vote for elected representatives who are willing to act on their behalf rather than on behalf of the fossil fuel interests.
Michael Mann, thank you so much.
Thank you.